Did you see that video? I mean, it's bananas.
I'll tell you why this is particularly close to my heart, because to coin a favourite phrase of the left wing, it has been my lived experience over the past 3 years or so that a lot of crimes happening against women especially seem to be committed by people who aren't from this country. I've been followed home with a man in one of those Afghan kolpal hats chuntering away in some language. All the way to my front door, I had to hide in my neighbour's house and pretend I didn't live in my house because he was lurking around outside trying to do indecent things to himself. That's right. I've also had my phone robbed off me by a Roma woman with a scarf on. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Who are these people? Why are we importing all this stuff? I cannot walk down the streets where I live anymore without weird men leering at me, making comments. Look, I'm not one of these Me Too movement women. When it was builders wolf whistling from vans, I don't care. Sometimes it brightens up your day. Because what they don't do is they don't get into your personal space. They don't trail you. They don't physically approach you. They don't follow you to your front door. It's a very different sort of more harmless thing, a wolf whistle, than some of the stuff I'm being subjected to now. And some of the stuff my best mate who lives around the corner, again, her lived experience. Also, guess what? A woman with long blonde hair. She has 4 teenage daughters. All of them now have at some point been sexually assaulted. They have been groped. They have been followed. They are scared living in London. What is going on? So I am going to keep talking about this. I don't care if people turn around and goes, you're a racist, because my safety and the safety of women in this country is paramount. That is way more important than offending certain communities who, quite frankly, have men with medieval values when it comes to women, and I ain't standing for it.
Is there any way back for Sir Keir Starmer, or is he a dead PM walking?
I think the only thing that Keir Starmer can look forward to, really, Martin, is that look behind himself. Actually, is his own backbenchers and possibly his frontbenchers. I can't see anybody replacing him. To be honest, one time there was muted about Angela Rayner replacing him. She's sort of gone missing. West Streeting is sort of slithering about in the background. He could be ready to launch the old dagger in the back, but I'm surprised. He said he had a popularity rating of 11%. I'm surprised it's as high as that at the moment, Martin, because everywhere you go in this country, as a politician, people talk to me wherever I go, and this man is despised. I think he's the most despised Prime Minister in history. I think he's cowardly. He U-turns on everything. He bends to his backbenchers all the time just to save his own skin. He's a dead man walking. I think his time is probably up after the May elections this year, but I dread to think who's going to replace him.
Security
didn't hesitate. Within seconds, the most powerful man in Britain was surrounded. Cameras locked on every movement, every expression. This wasn't a protest outside the gates. This wasn't a rumor spreading through social media. This happened live in front of millions, inside the heart of British democracy. One moment shattered everything. One confrontation pushed the system past its breaking point. And now, as crowds flood the streets of Westminster demanding answers, a terrifying question hangs over the entire nation. Has the Prime Minister just destroyed his own government? Stay with me, because what unfolded inside Parliament minutes ago explains why Britain is on the edge of something it has never seen before. Wednesday afternoon. Prime Minister's questions. The most watched, most dangerous half hour in British politics. The green benches are packed tight. Tension already thick enough to cut. Every camera in the chamber is locked on the front bench, waiting. This is supposed to be routine. Sharp exchanges, rehearsed attacks, predictable defenses, politicians playing their roles, following the script. But today feels different. You can sense it before anyone speaks. MPs whisper urgently to each other. Journalists lean forward in the press gallery. The entire country is watching because pressure on Starmer has been building for weeks. Polls sliding downward. Party unity cracking at the seams. Anger outside Westminster growing louder with each passing day. And inside this chamber, the fuse is already lit. Everyone knows something is about to break. They just don't know when. Nigel Farage rises slowly from his seat. No shouting. No theatrics, just silence, heavy and deliberate, followed by a voice that cuts through the noise like a blade. He doesn't insult. He doesn't joke. He lists numbers, border crossings that keep climbing, hotel costs draining taxpayer money, canceled deportations that were promised the public. Then he shifts. His tone changes. He mentions leaked documents, quiet talks with Brussels, discussions about EU-linked migration frameworks that the government swore would never happen again. The chamber stiffens instantly. Labour MPs shift uncomfortably in their seats. This isn't an argument anymore. It sounds like an indictment. Every sentence lands cleanly, deliberately, with nowhere to hide. The words are simple but devastating. The kind of questions that demand answers, not deflection. Farage pauses, letting the silence stretch just long enough to make everyone uncomfortable. Then he delivers the line that detonates the room. Not a rant, not a slogan, a simple direct challenge to the Prime Minister's authority and honesty. For a split second, Starmer says nothing. His jaw tightens. His hands clench into fists on the dispatch box. You can almost see the calculation collapsing in real time, the carefully prepared responses evaporating under pressure. Then suddenly, without warning, he stands. What happens next is not controlled anger. It's not sharp political debate. It's raw, unfiltered. Starmer points across the chamber, his voice rising fast. Words spilling out faster than he can control them. Accusations fly in every direction. His tone escalates. The careful mask of composure shatters completely. The speaker called for order once, twice, ignored both times. The chamber freezes as MPs on both sides realize something has gone badly, terribly wrong. This is no longer politics as usual. This is a leader losing control in front of the nation. The speaker stands, his voice hardening with authority that cannot be ignored. He invokes a rule that almost never leaves the dusty pages of parliamentary procedure. The authority of the chair. Absolute. Final. The order is clear and unmistakable. The Prime Minister must withdraw from the chamber immediately. A stunned silence follows. So thick it feels like the air itself has stopped moving. Starmer looks around, desperately searching for support, for someone to step in, but finds none. Not from his own backbenchers, not from his cabinet, not from anyone. Security officers move in smoothly, professionally. Cameras zoom closer, capturing every detail. The Prime Minister protests weakly, his voice losing strength with every word. But the moment has already passed. He is escorted away step by step, his power visibly draining with each one. MPs watching complete disbelief as a sitting Prime Minister is forced out of Parliament. It's unprecedented, it's historic, and it's happening right now. Outside, within minutes, the news spreads like wildfire. Crowds begin to gather at the gates of Westminster. Phones light up across the country. Social media explodes with the footage shared millions of times in the first hour alone. One phrase starts to dominate every comment section, every post, every conversation. Resign. This is no longer just a bad day for the government. This is no longer a political scandal that will fade by next week. This is the start of something far bigger, far more dangerous. And everyone in Britain can feel it. The ground is shifting beneath the entire system. Inside Parliament, staffers rush through corridors glued to their phones trying to understand what just happened. Journalists sprint toward live positions outside, desperate to get on air first. Sirens echo faintly in the distance as police reinforce barriers around Westminster. By the time Starmer reaches his office, the footage is already everywhere, uncut, unfiltered, unavoidable. Britain is watching its leader lose authority in real time, and the reaction is instant and absolutely unforgiving. Outside Downing Street, the crowd swells rapidly. It starts with a handful of angry passers-by, a few activists who are already nearby, curious onlookers drawn by the commotion. But it grows fast, too fast. Within an hour, hundreds fill the street, then thousands. Chants begin to ripple through the cold air, building in volume and intensity. Resign again and again. Phones are held high everywhere, live streaming directly to the world. This is no longer contained within Westminster. It has become a national moment of rupture, broadcast in real time to every corner of the country. Inside government buildings, panic replaces strategy. Advisors scramble desperately to control the narrative. But there's no narrative left to control. The images say everything. A prime minister who could not obey the speaker. A leader who lost composure under pressure. A government exposed as fragile, unstable, crumbling. Every attempt to frame the incident as passion, as standing firm against extremism, collapses instantly. Replay after replay shows the same undeniable reality. loss of control. The public isn't debating what happened anymore. They are judging it, and the verdict is brutal. Political reaction hits like a tidal wave crashing over the entire establishment. Opposition benches smell blood in the water. Reform UK MPs move with ruthless efficiency, amplifying the footage, editing clips into devastating contrast. Calm versus chaos, control versus collapse. The message is simple and crushingly effective. If a leader cannot control himself in Parliament, how can he possibly control a country facing real crisis? The framing spreads like wildfire across every platform. Rallies grow larger overnight. Membership numbers spike dramatically. Donations surge. What once looked like a fringe protest movement now feels like a genuine political force gaining terrifying momentum. Conservatives, sensing opportunity, sharpen their attacks immediately. They call the incident a constitutional embarrassment. Senior figures begin using words that are rarely spoken out loud in British politics: instability, ungovernable, failure of leadership. The tone shifts rapidly from criticism to consequence. This is no longer about policy disagreements. This is about survival. Inside the Labour Party, the mood turns poisonous almost immediately. Phones buzz nonstop as MPs receive furious messages from their constituencies. Long-standing supporters express disbelief and betrayal. Swing voters express pure anger. Northern seats, once considered safe Labour territory for generations, suddenly feel dangerously exposed. Backbenchers begin asking the question they have avoided for months: how much damage can one leader do before the entire party collapses with him? Loyalty drains away fast when power starts to look weak. The media machine goes into absolute overdrive. News channels loop the moment frame by frame. Headlines escalate by the hour. Unprecedented, historic humiliation, constitutional crisis. International outlets pile in, treating the incident not as internal British drama, but as a sign of global instability. Markets wobble as confidence erodes. What should have been a routine parliamentary session now looks like a turning point in modern British political history. Overnight polling data arrives like a series of hammer blows. Approval ratings plunge at a speed rarely seen outside complete election disasters. The drop isn't gradual, it's a cliff edge. Focus groups describe Starmer with words that sting: rattled, weak, unfit, out of his depth, dangerous. Trust once lost in politics doesn't drift away slowly. It collapses all at once. Reform UK surges in the same polling. The political center fractures in real time. What felt impossible just weeks ago now feels inevitable. As night falls over London, Downing Street remains lit but eerily silent. No statement. No apology. No reassurance. That silence becomes its own message, loud and damning. In politics, silence is never neutral. It is surrender. Outside the gates, the chants do not stop. Britain isn't just watching a prime minister struggle anymore. The country is watching the authority of the office itself crack under pressure. The institution is being tested, and it is failing. What began as a single outburst is now framed as a defining moment in British political history. The image of a prime minister removed under the authority of the speaker is burned into public consciousness. It cannot be spun away. Labour's attempt to damage control unravel almost immediately. Defending the incident as passion or righteous anger only fuels public fury further. Voters see instability. They see weakness disguised as strength. Behind closed doors, the atmosphere inside Labour headquarters turns poisonous. Emergency meetings stretch late into the night. Polling data flashes read across marginal seats. Whispers of leadership change grow louder. The name Starmer is no longer spoken with authority, but with doubt and barely concealed panic. Reform UK moves with ruthless efficiency, editing the meltdown into sharp political ads. The message is clear. If a leader cannot control himself in Parliament, how can he control a country facing real threats? The framing spreads across social media, reaching audiences traditional campaigns never touch. What once looked like a protest movement now feels like a genuine political force gaining unstoppable momentum. Constitutional experts step into the spotlight, asking deeper questions. What does it mean for a sitting prime minister to be removed by the speaker? Can authority return once it has been stripped away so publicly? These are no longer abstract debates. They strike at the heart of how Britain is governed. Trust in institutions takes another massive blow. Calls for accountability multiply. Investigations are demanded. Committees are mentioned. The ministerial code is dragged back into the national conversation. And each new demand adds weight to a government already bending under strain. Starmer remains largely silent. In modern politics, absence is weakness, and weakness invites attack. Protests become a daily fixture. Not chaotic riots, but sustained demonstrations that refuse to fade. Banners calling for resignation dominate the streets. Chants echo from dawn until dusk. This no longer feels like outrage that will burn out quickly. It feels like a movement that believes change is finally within reach. Media coverage turns relentless. Editorials question Starmer's judgment, temperament, and fitness to lead. Satire embeds a moment deep into popular culture. The phrase forced out becomes shorthand for political failure. For many, this is no longer just about Starmer. It represents everything they feel is broken about politics itself. By the end of the week, even loyal defenders cannot deny the reality. The authority of the Prime Minister has been badly damaged, perhaps permanently. Trust is drained away, replaced by doubt, anger, and betrayal. Rivals circle closer. The system itself feels unstable. Britain is no longer waiting to see what happens next. The country is bracing for impact. Weeks later, the political landscape looks unrecognizable. Polls confirm what the streets have been screaming. Labour's numbers sink. Reform UK continues its surge. Letters of no confidence begin circulating. Donors hesitate. Volunteers walk away. The question dominating every private conversation is brutal and unavoidable. Can the party survive with Keir Starmer still at the helm? Public appearances grow rare. When Starmer speaks, the words land flat, stripped of authority by that moment in Parliament. Perception has turned completely against him. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage's profile rises with astonishing speed. Once dismissed as fringe, he now appears central to the national conversation. In former Labour heartlands, his message resonates with voters who feel ignored and abandoned. The political map begins to redraw itself in real time. Public trust drops to record lows. Analysts warn Britain is entering a volatile, unpredictable period. Stability once taken for granted now feels fragile. The eruption inside Parliament didn't just expose one leader. It exposed a system under unbearable pressure. Now Britain waits, watching every development with exhausted anticipation. Will Starmer step aside? Will he be forced out by his own party? Will Reform UK reshape the political future? Is this a beginning of a new era, or the chaotic collapse of the old one? If this crisis has proven anything, it is that in modern politics, everything can change in minutes. Authority that seemed unshakable can vanish in seconds. And when that change arrives, there is no reset button, no second chance.